My childhood sweetheart, Audrey Garrison, whom I'd secretly loved for 10 years, was in a car accident and couldn't walk again. Her fiancé and all the men who'd vied for her hand vanished overnight. Even the Garrisons gave up on her as an heir. Only I abandoned my studies to care for her for 2 years, doing everything I could to find famous doctors. But after she could stand again, at the engagement party I'd planned, she publicly announced she would go through with her wedding to her fiancé, Brandon Sterling. When I confronted her, Audrey grabbed my hand, her voice filled with deep emotion. "Liam, I can't accept this. I'm only marrying him to get revenge for him abandoning me back then. You have to believe me, I only love you." But during a truth or dare game, Brandon Sterling, holding the king card, pointed at me. "Liam Miller, pick a girl here and kiss her for 1 minute." I looked to Audrey for help. But she turned her head. "Don't look at me. I'm Brandon's exclusive." I stood there awkwardly. A few girls nearby gave me teasing looks, one even laughed out loud. "Liam Miller, I'll go with you. You're hot anyway, I wouldn't lose anything." Brandon Sterling wrapped an arm around Audrey Garrison's shoulder. "Liam Miller, don't be a sore loser. If you can't handle it, just take a drink as punishment." Audrey Garrison leaned against Brandon Sterling, her gaze sweeping over me indifferently. It was just one look, but no one in the world understood Audrey Garrison better than I did. I picked up the strong liquor on the table and downed it in one gulp. "Liam Miller, are you crazy? You have a severe alcohol allergy, did you forget?" Everyone there was from the same circle and knew my condition well. From my throat to my stomach, it burned. "Audrey, can you take me home so I can take my medication?" Since she didn't want to kiss me in front of Brandon Sterling and didn't want me interacting with other girls, surely leaving with me was an option. E was the only one there who wasn't drinking because she was still on herbal treatments. It made sense for her to drive me. "Audrey, I'm not done having fun yet." Brandon Sterling squeezed Audrey Garrison's hand, a hint of a whine in his voice. Someone in the crowd started it. "Real couples are more fun. How about Miss Garrison and Brandon share a minute-long French kiss?" The crowd roared with encouragement. No one paid attention to me anymore. My face was turning an abnormal shade of red, and my throat began to itch. Their bodies entwined, and the crowd started counting down the seconds. 58, 59, 58, 57, 56. Audrey Garrison kissed him with abandon. From my angle, I could see her eyes were closed, her eyelashes trembling. The tips of her ears were slightly red, a sign she was aroused. They could have kissed forever, but I couldn't hold on. I pushed open the door of the Blackwood Heights estate. As I was about to step out, I looked back and saw Audrey Garrison pulling away from Brandon Sterling's lips. In the light, the thin, transparent thread of saliva between their mouths was sickeningly intimate. Maybe it was the allergy, but my chest felt tight, and I couldn't catch my breath. Outside, the wind hit me, and my skin started to itch. I didn't dare scratch. I pulled out my phone to call a ride-sharing app. But the Blackwood Heights estate was too remote, no one was accepting rides. I waited for 10 minutes, and finally a driver accepted, but less than a minute later, they cancelled the order. At that moment, the humiliation in my heart exploded. Why give me hope, only to snatch it away? The ride-sharing driver was like this, and so was Audrey Garrison. My eyes welled up, and I squatted down, hugging myself. I must have looked ridiculous, crying while scratching myself all over, like a pathetic monkey. Suddenly, headlights shone ahead. The high beams blinded me. By the time I could see clearly, the car had pulled up beside me. A woman in casual athletic wear got out of the driver's seat. Standing beside me, I finally saw her face clearly. "Liam Miller, what on earth happened to you?" My voice was hoarse. "Aunt Eleanor, my throat is swelling shut. If you don't take me home for my medication, I'm going to die." Eleanor Garrison drove like a maniac. I nervously gripped the handle above the door. "Aunt Eleanor, I won't die immediately." Eleanor Garrison was Audrey Garrison's aunt. "Don't worry, I'm not that useless girl, Audrey." For some reason, Eleanor Garrison's voice sounded contemptuous and angry. "You're having such a severe allergic reaction, what's she doing? Why didn't she take you to the hospital?" A bitter taste filled my heart. "She doesn't have an obligation to take care of me constantly. And you had an obligation to wait on her hand and foot when her leg was broken." I lowered my head and remained silent. Audrey Garrison and I grew up together. But in high school, my father's investments failed, and my mother divorced him and married his business rival. My father couldn't handle the blow and entrusted me to his closest friend before jumping off a building. That friend was Audrey Garrison's father, Robert Garrison. So before high school, I was Audrey Garrison's childhood sweetheart, and after high school, I was an orphan living in their house. After Audrey Garrison's car accident, her bones healed, but she still couldn't walk. Mr. Garrison took her to see specialists both domestically and abroad. The diagnosis was nerve damage, with no hope of walking again in this lifetime. Mr. Garrison instantly looked 10 years older. Audrey Garrison, the brilliant prodigy, became a volatile cripple. She indiscriminately hated everyone who came near her, including her father. In despair, Mr. Garrison gave up on Audrey Garrison and brought back his sister, Eleanor Garrison, who was traveling the world, handing the Garrison group over to her. Audrey Garrison became even more frantic when she knew she'd been abandoned. Only I, ignoring her vicious curses and physical abuse, stayed close to her and held her. Even if the whole world gives up on you, I'll stay by your side. I gave up my diploma and degree certificate from a top university, which I was about to receive, and moved with her to Sunstone City, where it was always like spring. I took care of her for 2 years. After she recovered, she took my hand and stood before Mr. Garrison and Aunt Eleanor. I was reborn because of Liam Miller. I want to be with him forever. Mr. Garrison wept tears of joy. Aunt Eleanor simply said coolly, "Remember what you said." Audrey Garrison re-entered the Garrison group and once again became the center of attention, the Garrison heiress. The people who had scornfully stayed away when her leg was broken and she'd withdrawn from the company now flocked back. Even her former fiancé, Brandon Sterling, who had been inseparable from her before breaking their engagement after her accident, came crawling back. All Brandon Sterling had to do was ask her, "Audrey, didn't you say you'd love only me forever?" Audrey Garrison let go of my hand and cautiously took Brandon Sterling's hand right in front of me. I never intended to break my promise. Brandon Sterling squeezed her hand back, their fingers intertwined, and his eyes looked at me, not far away, with a challenging gaze. Back at the Garrison estate, when we were alone, Audrey Garrison threw herself into my arms again. "Liam, I can't accept this. I'm just doing this for revenge. I only love you." Her eyes, like a clear pool I could drown in, held a look of deep affection. I had loved her for 10 years, was used to being by her side, used to respecting her wishes, even if I felt wronged. Eleanor Garrison didn't take me home, she took me directly to the hospital. The doctors immediately gave me medication to relieve the allergy. Such a severe alcohol allergy, and you drank hardly. Are you trying to die? If you had come any later, you would have suffocated. Are you trying to keep the morgue busy? Eleanor Garrison stood nearby, watching my face, swollen like a pig's head, as the doctor lectured me. I wanted to shrink under the blankets. Her face clearly showed 2 words, "Served you right." And you, as his family, aren't you going to keep an eye on your husband? What are you standing there for? Go get the medication. Sure enough, the night shift doctor dealing with an emergency patient was grumpier than a ghost. Watching the usually aloof Eleanor Garrison look so put out, I felt a knot of frustration in my chest begin to loosen. The next day, I woke up to Audrey Garrison standing by my bedside, looking guilty. "Liam, you're awake? I was worried about you yesterday and ran out after you, but you were gone. You came to the hospital, why didn't you call me? Do you know how worried I was?" She leaned in and stroked my cheek. "Good, you're okay. Don't throw a fit anymore, okay?" Looking at the kiss marks on her neck and listening to her scolding tone, she felt like a stranger. What did I do wrong? Was my mistake not suffocating from the allergy while watching them make out? What am I to you? My voice was hoarse. She seemed not to have heard me. "What?" Her eyes were flustered. "Did you say you're thirsty?" She turned her back to me to get a water cup and pour water. Her body was tall and slender, her legs were completely healed. But why did I miss the days when she was in a wheelchair so much? Before Audrey Garrison could hand me the water cup, a hospital room door was pushed open. "Liam Miller, you're really in the hospital because of an allergy? Let me see what an alcohol allergy looks like." Brandon Sterling seemed excited as he came in. He looked at my face and laughed mockingly. "Our famously handsome guy. This is hilarious. His face is so swollen his eyes are just slits." He took out his phone and snapped pictures of me. "I'll take some photos and post them online. It'll get so many likes." I was in this state thanks to him, and he was here to humiliate me further. Instantly, a surge of anger rushed to my head. I grabbed the water cup from Audrey Garrison's hand and threw it at Brandon Sterling. The lid wasn't on tight, and when the cup hit Brandon Sterling, water splashed onto his skin. He shrieked and jumped up. "Ah, it hurts." Audrey Garrison rushed over, pulled Brandon Sterling into the bathroom, and turned on the faucet. Liam Miller tried to scald me with hot water and ruin my face. "He's so vicious." Brandon Sterling's voice, full of accusation, came from the bathroom. "Audrey, I was just joking with him. How could he do this to me? Is he jealous of our love? He's just an orphan our family raised. What right does he have to love me?" Audrey Garrison's voice was very low, but the sound of the water still couldn't drown it out. 10 minutes later, Audrey Garrison came out, pulling Brandon Sterling behind her, looking furious. Apologize. Audrey Garrison's face was dark, her voice icy. But at that moment, my mind was filled with her words. What right did I have to love her? I suddenly felt ridiculous. Since I lost my family, I also lost the right to love her. What did all those years of unwavering companionship count for? Ha, I knew it. It was rent for living in their house. My studies, my 10 years of love, 2 years of round-the-clock care, that was expensive rent. Did you hear me? She lifted her hand and flung it out, hitting my foretube. My hand felt a sharp pain as the needle was pulled. Apologize, are you deaf? She squeezed my hand hard, right on the spot where the needle had pulled out. It hurt so much, I gasped. Stop pretending. It can't hurt more than being scalded, Brandon Sterling complained. Audrey Garrison squeezed harder. I felt like the needle in my vein might pierce through. Sweat beaded on my forehead fro. The pain, but the pain in my heart was worse. I endured the pain and looked up at Audrey Garrison. Did I help you stand up just so you could bully me? I asked her, enunciating each word. Her face turned extremely ugly. She let go of my hand. I knew it. You took care of me just to make me indebted to you, to stand on the moral high ground and make me look up to you. She looked at me, her gaze devoid of the former dependence, only contempt. Like this. In that moment, I heard so much I wanted to laugh and cry. Audrey Garrison, am I, Liam Miller, really that despicable? Looking at her twisted expression, it wasn't that I was despicable, but that my love was contemptible. Well, what if I just stopped loving you? The commotion ended when a nurse came in. What happened to your hand? Your veins are hard to get, didn't I tell you to be careful with the four? The nurse exclaimed. Audrey Garrison's gaze also fell on my miserable-looking hand. It's okay, just use the other hand. I'm used to getting stuck anyway. It was just a casual remark, but for some reason, it angered Audrey Garrison again. Liam Miller, are you trying to remind me how much you've sacrificed for me? So she hadn't forgotten how much I had given for her. When everyone else had given up on her legs, I never did. Finally, I found an old practitioner of traditional medicine in Sunstone City. The old man gave her acupuncture every other day. A month later, when she regained some feeling in her legs, the old man's children wanted to take him abroad. No matter how much we offered, his children didn't want their father to worry about patients during his retirement. I knelt before the old man and his son, pleading. Finally, the old man agreed to teach me his acupuncture technique, and I would administer the needles to Audrey Garrison from then on. I practiced diligently on an acupuncture practice model, but I was still worried, so I practiced on myself. When Audrey Garrison saw my legs covered in needle marks, her eyes turned red. Liam, I'll never let you hurt again. Only half a year had passed since then. After she could stand, she became the golden girl again, standing at the center of attention, and forgot what she had said. The actions that had once moved her to tears were now seen as calculated generosity on my part, just a means to cling to her. Don't you need to take Brandon Sterling to see a dermatologist? I just wanted her to disappear from my sight. I didn't care if she thought I was provoking her. 10 years of feelings, I tried, I had it, and then I lost it. I lay in the hospital bed, closed my eyes, and tears streamed down my face, soaking the pillow. I decided to move out of the Garrison estate. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Audrey Garrison never visited again, but Eleanor Garrison came every day to check on me. She was a truly good aunt, but unfortunately, not my own. In the hospital, I used my phone to look for apartments. I temporarily rented a small apartment for myself. When I got home from the hospital, I started packing. My phone rang just as I was throwing the set of acupuncture needles into the trash. Liam, I'm at the Sovereign Club. Can you bring me the paper bag from the bedside table in my room? I was going to say I was busy. Then I thought, maybe I should say goodbye to Audrey Garrison face to face. I didn't think too much, put on my jacket, grabbed the paper bag from her bedside table, and took a taxi. When I opened the private room door, the air was thick with smoke and noise. Everyone in the room burst out laughing when they saw me. Brandon was right, Liam Miller is pathetically desperate. He's willing to deliver condoms to Miss Garrison in the middle of the night. Audrey Garrison was lounging on a leather sofa, and Brandon Sterling had a mocking smile on his face. Liam Miller, thanks for coming all this way. The thing is, Audrey only likes this brand of protection, and you can't buy them outside. Everyone's eyes were on me, some with sympathy, some with ridicule, some with disdain. I really didn't understand how Audrey Garrison had become like this. She had said she was only with Brandon Sterling for revenge for him abandoning her. But in the end, the person she hurt turned out to be me, who had always been loyal to her. I stood in the noisy environment, and for a moment, all sound seemed to be blocked out. Only Brandon Sterling and Audrey Garrison's low whispers reached my ears. "Audrey, doesn't Liam Miller look like a clown?" I stared at them and walked towards them, step by step. "Audrey Garrison, I hope you two have a wild night and enjoy yourselves." I threw the bag at her. "I'm moving out of the Garrisons. Don't call me for errands like delivering condoms anymore." With that, I turned and walked towards the private room door. As I stepped out of the room, Audrey Garrison grabbed my arm. "It was just asking you to bring condoms. What are you being so dramatic about?" I didn't want to say another word to her. I tried hard to pull my arm free, but her grip was too tight. Just as I was about to slap her with my other hand, a woman's voice sounded from behind me. "Liam, come here. Aunt Eleanor." Audrey Garrison's expression changed instantly, and she released her grip. Audrey Garrison wasn't very afraid of Mr. Garrison, but she felt a deep sense of respect and fear towards Aunt Eleanor. Eleanor Garrison was only 3 years older than Audrey Garrison. Since school, Eleanor Garrison had been her personal nightmare. Although Audrey Garrison's grades were excellent, Eleanor Garrison was always the ceiling she could never reach. Eleanor Garrison wasn't just smart, she also had an air of authority, and sometimes one look was enough to deflate Audrey Garrison's arrogance. Eleanor Garrison nodded at Audrey Garrison and spoke again. "Liam, come here." I didn't know what Aunt Eleanor meant, but I knew a foe. Lowing her was the best option. I hurried towards the elevator with Eleanor Garrison. From behind, I heard Audrey Garrison's slightly angry voice. "Liam Miller, don't move out yet. Wait for me at home." I didn't look back or reply. Sitting in Aunt Eleanor's car, I finally remembered to ask her, "Aunt Eleanor, what are you doing here? You're moving out?" She didn't answer my question, instead asking her own. In my memory, I had never seen Audrey Garrison's grandfather. Eleanor Garrison was essentially raised by Mr. Garrison. Later, I also moved into the Garrison estate. By then, Eleanor Garrison had gone abroad for university. After graduating from an Ivy League university, she chose not to return to the family business but started her own company. I had looked her up online, and Eleanor's company was incredibly successful. By her late 20s, she had achieved financial independence and started traveling the world. Although Aunt Eleanor could easily afford a new mansion, she didn't. She had always lived at the Garrison estate. Even so, I rarely saw her. Combined with the pressure she exerted on Audrey Garrison, I also felt a mixture of admiration and fear towards her deep down. Yes, Audrey Garrison said she's marrying Mr. Sterling, so it's not appropriate for me to stay at the Garrison estate anymore. She was silent for a long while. I looked back at her. In the dim light, her stunning profile had smooth, elegant lines, a high bridge of her nose, and thin lips pressed together, indicating she was not in a good mood. "What are your plans from now on?" "Plans?" I was stunned. To be honest, I hadn't had time to think about it. If you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have said I wanted to get into a good university and then work for Audrey Garrison's company to help her. If you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have said I wanted to get my diploma and degree certificate, find a decent paying job, and work like a dog where Audrey Garrison wouldn't see me. Later, when Audrey Garrison broke her leg, I didn't wait for graduation. I left school and focused entirely on taking care of her. Now, with only a high school diploma, what future did I have? Seeing I didn't speak, Eleanor Garrison spoke again. "Go back and finish your degree." I thought I had heard wrong. When I left school, I didn't even have time to request a leave of absence. How could I possibly get back into the school? "I arranged a leave of absence for you. If you don't go back now, your academic record will be gone for good." I had never thought I would be able to go back to campus again. Although I was a bit older, surrounded by younger, more naive faces, I wasn't jealous. I just felt this opportunity was incredibly precious. In the first semester of my senior year, I didn't have many classes. I didn't live on campus and stayed in the small apartment. After class, a conspicuous Mercedes G-Wagon was parked outside the school gate. I ran over and opened the car door. "Aunt Eleanor, sorry to cause you trouble again." "Haven't you caused me enough trouble already?" I shrugged sheepishly. Moving out of the Garrison estate hadn't been smooth. Audrey Garrison had a huge fit. She pulled my suitcase, looking furious. "Liam Miller, I told you I was just using him for revenge, and I'd be with you when I was done playing around. What is this drama?" Maybe I didn't love her as much as I thought. She had said that if you loved someone, you could support their every decision unconditionally. I thought I could do it, but I was wrong. I couldn't. I'm not being dramatic. I just don't love you anymore, and I don't want to be this close to you. Audrey Garrison glared at me menacingly. Say that again. 10 times would be the same. I don't love you anymore, and I need to stay away from you. That day, Audrey Garrison was like a woman, snatching my suitcase. What right do you have to just leave? You've lived in my house for so many years, you promised to repay me with the rest of your life. You're not going anywhere. In the struggle, the suitcase ripped open, and my clothes scattered everywhere. Liam Miller, everything you have, down to the clothes on your back, came from my family. What right do you have to leave? I couldn't refute her. Just then, Eleanor Garrison returned to the Blackwood Heights estate. Audrey Garrison, even if Liam Miller owes the Garrisons, he doesn't owe you. He has the right to leave. Audrey Garrison wanted to argue, but Eleanor Garrison's presence made her unable to speak. Liam Miller, you healed Audrey Garrison's legs. You don't owe the Garrisons. In fact, we owe you. Saying that, she took out a card. Here's 10 million. Go live your own life. Audrey Garrison seemed to know that if I accepted this card, I would have nothing to do with her for the rest of my life. I don't agree. What right do you have to decide this? Her eyes were bloodshot. It was the first time she had dared to defy her aunt so fiercely. Eleanor Garrison didn't reply to her, but instead slapped her across the face. Audrey Garrison, stop making a scene. From the moment I started bothering Eleanor Garrison outside the Blackwood Heights estate, it seemed like some kind of curse had been broken. Although I didn't want to, I kept causing trouble for Eleanor Garrison. I had no idea how to handle my enrollment at school, and Eleanor Garrison took me to the dean. The apartment I had rented before was an hour-and-a-half subway ride from school, and Eleanor Garrison found me a new one. When the appliances in the apartment broke down, or I struggled with my schoolwork, time and time again, Eleanor Garrison didn't seem annoyed with me. This time, I asked her for an internship opportunity. Aunt Eleanor, I graduated from a top university after all. Working for you for free shouldn't be too much trouble, right? As I interacted more with Eleanor Garrison, I realized she had a cold exterior but a warm heart, and I gradually became less afraid of her. Are you showing off your grades to me? I suddenly remembered this amazing person's impressive achievements and frantically waved my hands, admitting defeat. Her hand, resting on the steering wheel while she drove, tapped lightly. She seemed pleased. Although I was put on the spot, my mood also lightened. Let's go get something to eat first, then head to the company. My classmates told me there's a new Russian restaurant that's pretty good. If I had known I would run into Audrey Garrison and Brandon Sterling at that restaurant, I wouldn't have craved that meal. I was sitting at the restaurant looking at the menu and waiting for Eleanor Garrison when a familiar male voice came from behind me. Liam Miller? Didn't you go abroad? What are you doing here? I turned around and saw Brandon Sterling, looking surprised. Are you trying to come back and win Audrey Garrison back? Let me tell you, I'm marrying Audrey Garrison soon. Coming back now won't do you any good. What on earth was he talking about? I didn't understand. Since I left the Garrison estate, I hadn't seen Audrey Garrison or him. I had worried about their entanglement, but Eleanor Garrison said she would handle everything. I really didn't expect that my craving for food would mess up her plans for me. Liam, you're back? Audrey Garrison appeared from behind him. Are you still hung up on me, so you came back for me? Audrey Garrison's eyes were sparkling. My past infatuation with her must have left a deep impression. As long as I appeared, she thought it was for her. No, I'm here with a friend. Audrey Garrison's brows furrowed instantly. A friend? What kind of friend? What kind of friends could you possibly have? A guy or a girl? Her words didn't just make me uncomfortable, even Brandon Sterling couldn't stand it. Audrey, why do you care who Liam Miller eats with? Brandon Sterling looked at me malicious eyes. Now that he's out of the Garrisons, he has no one backing him. The people he can associate with are just lower-class people. What kind of decent people would eat with him? Brandon Sterling's words made me feel utterly sick. Watch your mouth. What upper class, lower class? That kind of class snobbery is centuries out of date. Even back then, your family would just be considered low-class traders. What are you being so arrogant about? Brandon Sterling was speechless after my retort. He wanted to lunge at me, but Audrey Garrison stopped him. I know you came back to the country for me. Just come back to the Garrisons obediently, and I'll make your wish come true very soon. I didn't react right away. My wish? What wish did I have? Was it to marry her? It must have been. When she was still in the wheelchair in Sunstone City, it was my birthday, and she asked me what I wished for. At that time, she was still very down, thinking her life was over. To give her motivation to live well, I said, my wish is to marry Audrey Garrison, no matter what she's like, and spend the rest of my life with her. At that time, her eyes showed shock, emotion, and a hint of deep affection. Okay, when my legs are better, I'll stand on my own 2 feet to marry my groom. Her legs were better, and we left Sunstone City. She returned to her world of status and influence and forgot my wish and her repeated promises. Don't overthink it. I came back to see a friend. I'll eat and leave. But seeing you two has made me lose my appetite, I can't eat anymore. Saying that, I wanted to leave. Stop pretending. Seeing what friend? Any friend eating with you must be a broke loser. I didn't want to get entangled with them, and even more, I didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble for Eleanor Garrison, so I just wanted to leave quickly. In such a hurry to run away? Are you not meeting a friend, but on a blind date? Brandon Sterling quickly came over and grabbed me. Audrey Garrison's face was dark. Seeing I didn't reply, she said coldly, "You're really on a blind date? Are you that desperate for a woman? I really want to see what kind of woman would want you. Any woman would like a man like Liam Miller." My heart sank. I knew I was busted. Eleanor Garrison had changed my phone number and faked my move abroad. I'd ruined everything. Aunt Eleanor. Before Audrey Garrison could say anything else, Brandon Sterling called out. "Hardly. I'm certainly not Mr. Sterling's aunt." Eleanor Garrison glanced at Brandon Sterling indifferently. Her voice was devoid of warmth. "What do you mean, Aunt Eleanor?" Audrey Garrison ignored Brandon Sterling's embarrassment. "Audrey, your grades were never that great, and your judgment of people is even worse. It's normal for you not to understand what I mean." Audrey Garrison's face drained of color, inch by inch. Eleanor Garrison hooked her arm through mine, ready to leave. "Aunt Eleanor, don't forget, you're his elder. You're older than him. Are you implying?" "Audrey, I'm not your fiancé's aunt, and naturally, I'm not Liam Miller's uncle. I'm only 3 years older than him. Haven't you heard a woman 3 years older than her partner brings wealth and good fortune?" Audrey Garrison staggered. Seeing us about to leave the restaurant, Audrey Garrison couldn't hold back any longer. "Aunt Eleanor, are you going to be with Liam Miller? Don't you think that's shameful? You're stealing your own niece's boyfriend." My mind was reeling. What were they talking about? How did things get so twisted? "Isn't your boyfriend right there beside you?" Eleanor Garrison stopped and turned to face me. "Liam, do you have a girlfriend?" Confused, I shook my head. Eleanor Garrison glanced at Audrey Garrison. Good. Still in a daze, I was pulled by Eleanor Garrison's hand out of the restaurant. It wasn't until I was sitting in Eleanor Garrison's office that I aimed to figure out what they meant by that last exchange. I didn't dare look at Eleanor Garrison. Aunt Eleanor. Sitting in the executive chair, Eleanor Garrison exuded a fierce authority. "I've never been your aunt." Her words caught in my throat. "Then, what should I call you? Ms. Garrison?" My voice was hoarse, my face felt hot. "How did you introduce me to your classmates?" A faint, almost imperceptible smile played on her lips. My face got even hotter. Eleanor Garrison often showed up at my school gate in expensive cars. To the students, she was everyone's ideal woman, a wealthy, gorgeous boss. Although I didn't talk much and the guys weren't very close to me, they couldn't help but ask about my relationship with Eleanor Garrison. To avoid causing her unnecessary trouble, I brushed them off casually. "Oh, that's my wife. We had a kid a couple years back, and I took those 2 years off from school to help her at home. I just wanted to solve her problem once and for all." It looked like it got back to her. Were college guys these days really so desperate they were trying to poach even after that? It's terrifying. My mind was still racing, and Eleanor Garrison had already walked over to me. "Liam, what exactly is my status in your classmates' eyes?" I swallowed hard. "Aunt Eleanor, or wife, or your son's mother?" She was standing, I was sitting. The intense presence made me forget to breathe. I thought of countless answers in my head, but in the end, I just said 3 words. I was wrong. Sitting in class, my mind was a mess. I had inexplicably agreed to be Eleanor Garrison's boyfriend. Thinking back to how Eleanor Garrison had gently pressured and tempted me, my face couldn't help but flush again. "Liam, I have good grades, I'm good looking, and I'm capable. Doesn't that make me obviously better than Audrey Garrison? Even though I'm 3 years older than you, I still look like I'm in my early 20s, right? And you want an internship, right? Say yes, and you can intern at any company you choose. I could even get you a CEO position. Most importantly, if you agree, you won't have to worry about Audrey Garrison and Brandon Sterling bothering you anymore. You'll instantly become related to them through me, acknowledged as family by them." Her eyes sparkled with mischief. "Even if they get married, they'd have to acknowledge you as family. Think about that. Wouldn't that feel good?" As Eleanor Garrison spoke, a picture immediately formed in my mind. To be honest, it did feel good. Then I nodded numbly, and numbly, I was kissed by Eleanor Garrison. Liam Miller, are you sick? Your face is so red. I might have a fever. The teacher excused me to see a doctor. There was nothing wrong with me. As I left the classroom building, I saw Eleanor Garrison standing under a tree. A guy was wolf whistling and pulling out his phone in front of her. I guessed he was asking for her number. Suddenly, she pointed at me. The guy looked back at me, gave a quick nod, and hurried away. She walked towards me, a gentle smile on her face that made my heart skip a beat. She was much prettier than Audrey Garrison. I must have been blind before. Boyfriend, if you don't get out of class soon, someone else is going to poach me. I had countless fantasies of walking hand in hand with Audrey Garrison on campus, but I never thought I'd fulfill that wish with Eleanor Garrison instead. After successfully getting my diploma and degree certificate, Eleanor Garrison wanted to throw a graduation celebration for me. When I thought she was making a big deal out of it, she said if it felt too extravagant, we could just make it an engagement party instead. Her family, they're all schemers, aren't they? Each one more cunning than the last. Couldn't beat them, so I joined them. Audrey Garrison was the last person to know about my engagement to Eleanor Garrison. Before that, I'd heard from Eleanor Garrison that she and Brandon Sterling were having a falling out. I prayed every day for their relationship to work out, not because I'm a good person, but because I really wanted Brandon Sterling to have to acknowledge me as family. During the engagement party rehearsal, Audrey Garrison burst into the ballroom. I hadn't seen her for just over half a year, but her leg was limping again. She limped over to me, her eyes shining. Liam, Brandon Sterling and I broke up. Come back to me. Her voice was trembling. Seeing me staring at her leg, she said, I know I was wrong. After you left me, my leg hurt more every single day. All the doctors were at a loss. Her face was full of regret. I know, it's punishment from above. I once said that if I ever hurt you, I would never be able to walk again. She tried to get onto the stage, but the steps were too high, she couldn't make it up. What punishment from above? It was probably because no one was making sure she took her herbal treatments anymore after I left. The old practitioner from Sunstone City had once said that after the acupuncture, she needed to take herbal treatments for a year to stabilize it and also use therapeutic foot baths. When I was still at the Garrisons, I spent several hours every day preparing her medicine. But once she could walk again, she was busy partying and socializing with the same people who'd abandoned her. Every day I had to track her down and coax her into taking her medicine. Even the day Brandon Sterling drew the king card was the day I went to get her to come home for her medicine and was forced to stay and play the game by Brandon Sterling. Watching her try to climb onto the stage again and again, a pang of bitterness rose in my chest. Audrey, you should try and find the old practitioner from Sunstone City. See if he can fix your leg again. She suddenly stopped trying to move. Liam, are you still worried about me? Are you and Aunt Eleanor working together to tea? Wreck me? A strange look appeared in her eyes, difficult to describe. Your legs are broken, and your brain isn't working either? Eleanor Garrison, wearing her custom wedding dress, hooked her arm through mine. Liam caring about you, that's him caring about his niece. Instead of wasting time here, you should focus on getting your leg treated as soon as possible. Audrey Garrison looked at Eleanor Garrison with her arm around me, and the spark in her eyes vanished instantly. Is Aunt Eleanor telling the truth? You're marrying her? I didn't say anything. I just leaned over and kissed Eleanor Garrison on the corner of her lips. Audrey Garrison didn't attend our engagement party or our wedding. On our wedding night, after a night that left us both sore and exhausted, she rested her head on my arm. Looking at her smooth, pale skin flushed with color, I asked her, did you have feelings for me for a long time? Since the first day you came to live with us. You were blinking your bright, white eyes, with a hint of fear on your face, like a startled kitten. At that moment, I wanted to pull you into my arms and soothe you. At that time, my father had just passed away, and I went from being a young master to an orphan. It was normal for me to have nothing but fear in my eyes. So she liked me back then? I kissed her forehead and asked, oh, and what about Audrey? Why didn't she come to our wedding? The old practitioner passed away. Audrey was too ashamed to come to you for the acupuncture method, so she went abroad for treatment on her own. Will she recover? I mumbled, half asleep. Probably not. What a shame. She was walking again. As soon as I said that, my eyelids felt heavy. Holding her close, I fell asleep quickly.